안녕하세요, 코인코기입니다. 오늘은 비트코인에 대한 마이클 셀러의 생각을 알 수 있는 인터뷰 영상을 가져왔습니다. 영상 즐겁게 보시고 많은 인사이트 얻어가시길 바라겠습니다. 구독과 좋아요는 영상 제작에 큰 힘이 됩니다.
It's made me even more focused.
Yep.
Like stress, like volatility, impacts different people differently. Some people that were part of the Bitcoin community, when it was going really well, when we entered that bear market, they kind of distanced themselves.
Yeah.
And the impact of that on them was they should diversify. Right. So some people's lesson they take away from it is I got to diversify or distance myself. The lesson I took away from this is not going to be easy. We're going to have to redouble our efforts and focus even harder. You thought you could do this and maybe do one more thing or two more things, and you realize, no, you just need to keep focused, keep laser like on this thing. This is going to be an intense struggle.
What's the biggest part of the struggle? Is it the eyeballs on you or the criticism, or is it just managing the up and downs of the value?
I think probably the most challenging thing for me in my current condition or position is just managing the mood of the rest of the market, like all the media, the investors, right? Like if you've invested enough time like you have and you have in Bitcoin, then the price fluctuations or the routine FUD doesn't really affect your worldview, right?
Yeah.
But if you haven't spent that much time and Bitcoin trades down $5,000 and someone contemporaneously releases some FUD, the US government's going to sell some Bitcoin, I would think, well, it doesn't matter one way or the other if it's true or not true, and it's irrelevant. But the volatility creates a news event. And when the price is going up, people have to come up with a narrative explanation for why it's going up. And so that's good. There'll be just 100 really good stories when the price is going up. And when the price is going down, there will be 100 bad stories or negative stories that have to be invented. You have to come up with, there's something deep in human consciousness that drives people to want to explain everything.
Has to be a reason for it.
Has to be a reason. So there'll be all this negativity, and then someone's going to say, okay, I heard about this. This is good for Bitcoin. What happens next? Are we okay? So I just have to communicate a lot. If Bitcoin was just plus 20% a year, or actually Bitcoin has been, here's the irony, Peter, right? Since we actually got in to the Bitcoin investment, Bitcoin is the best performing asset in the world by far. It's up 140% or more. It's more than 10x NASDAQ. It's more than 6x or something S&P. It's 100x gold. It's destroying everything. You can look back and see this. It's kind of clocking up about 40 to 50% a year steadily. So you wouldn't think that would be a problem, but it is emotionally torturous for investors that aren't really extremely well-educated Bitcoiners to handle that volatility. So you have to continually explain it. We explain it to the media. We have to explain it and talk to public investors. We have to always deal with the Twitter trolls, right? People that want to come up with some negative, cynical interpretation in order to drive engagement.
Or they want you to fail. They want it to have been wrong. There are people who want that.
Yeah, it seems we have that. Yeah, we have that.
But the thing is, another cycle, you can be very right, and it's a whole different ball game for you then. But I think even yourself, when Bitcoin started to hit about 15,000, 16,000, it must have been like, fuck, we were here, now we're here.
Yeah, writing it from 66,000 to 15,000 is a little painful, especially levered, especially with the Silvergate loan.
Yeah. I mean, look,
With
we're on the same ride here. There's just a lot more zeros on that, but like,
But I'm really curious about that Silvergate loan because can you explain like how that deal was structured when it took place and how you actually ended up sort of closing it? Because I don't understand how that worked with them having to basically close down the bank.
yeah, well, we entered into the loan before Terra Luna melted down.
Mm-hmm.
So if you recall what the state of Bitcoin was in the crypto economy before Terra Luna, before Three Arrows, before every single bankruptcy,
life was good.
I mean, generally, it was an
We were halfway
optimistic
to the
bench.
moon.
Yeah, and everybody was in massive investment mode, and I guess crypto VC was all-time high, and Signature and Silvergate had massive expansion plans, et cetera. And I had like 10 companies offering me loans against Bitcoin, and we had, quite a lot. I don't know. I guess we had something like $4 billion of uncollateralized, of just free collateral. So $4 billion of assets. So at that point, we were borrowing $200 million with $4 billion. So it's like a loan to value 5%.
Yeah.
So it seemed fairly reasonable at that time. I think Bitcoin was in the mid 40s or in that range, 45, 50.
Yeah.
And then what just happened was a succession of meltdowns, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they started with Terra Luna, and then it was like massive deleveraging, and it turned out that everybody was basically cross trading with everybody, right? I mean, Alameda and Three Arrows and Genesis and FTX, and the entire thing just started to collapse. But it didn't come all at once, right? It came in about 5 successive plateaus. So 5 brutal beatdowns.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when we got to New Year's Eve of this year, right? That's fees on the base chain were sometime 1, 2 VSAT.
Yeah.
They were like there were blocks with $300 transaction fees in the entire block, right? And I think Bitcoin was like 16,500 around New Year's Eve. So at that point, all of the wildcat crypto banks had all been wiped out, right? But they were just all playing fast and loose, right? Taking hundreds of millions of dollars of your depositors' money and then loaning it to another hedge fund that would then put it into Anchor Protocol with UST or something, and like there were like 7 layers of risk rehypothecation there, and so they got wiped out. But Signature and Silvergate were still around, and we didn't really have the banking crisis outside the crypto ecosystem. But so, and by the way, that entire thing, right, that was catalyzed by the Fed, right? The Fed took interest rates from 0 basis points to 500 basis points in 12 months. So that's the steepest incline in the risk-free overnight rate that we've seen in our lifetimes. So they kind of crushed a bunch of stuff, and the crypto ecosystem smashed first. With Silvergate, what happened really was, just like with all the other fractional reserve banks, they're sitting on long-dated treasuries or long-dated or mid-dated fixed income instruments, and anything that you bought, any bond, fixed income bond you bought with a duration of 7 to 30 years when short-term rates were 0, all of those things are yielding 1.5 to 2.5, 3% interest. So they looked better than nothing, but when overnight rates are 500 basis points risk-free and you're stuck with credit risk and you're stuck with interest rate risk for 10, 15 years, they all trade down. I think the entire bond portfolio, the bond index, BOND, traded down 18% from August of 2020 to like last week. So all the bonds traded down. And so if you look at the bonds for the banks, they're all trading down 10, 15%. So they're all technically insolvent, because if you're a fractional reserve with a 10-to-1 ratio and your bonds trade down 10%, right? You've wiped out everything. So that's an oops, courtesy of central banking regulators, right? Like what, how's that not going to happen? So Silvergate, I think, suffered from two unfortunate incidences or two situations. One, they had a lot of money invested in mid-dated fixed income instruments that traded down. That's the first, but that didn't kill them. I think what killed them is their credit line with the Federal Home Loan Association was not renewed. So they got a margin call from the government, and I think the crypto-friendly banks have not been treated as generously as other diversified plain vanilla banks, right? So we saw with Signature a similar situation.